Open water mug, yeah. If Wazoo wins, I might need a hug. Studio C, yeah, I'm feeling snug. I'm a ball, cause it's 8.1. Ball, ball, ball. The water cooler is next. Hello and welcome into the water cooler, everybody. It is our first official week here in Studio C at the main desk. Pumped. How
What
we
an
feeling?
intro.
Michael Luisi, Trevor Denton, Josh Cohen at your service. How we feeling, guys?
Dude, what an intro. That might have been the best one yet. It was incredible.
That's going to be a lot.
Just getting started.
Like 4 a.m., 8.1.
8.1. Well, as you see there, it's time for water cooler talk. And we're not going to start on such a light note with our topics today. We're going to start out with one of the biggest scandals we've seen in years, really, in sports.
Absolutely.
And that's the FBI's investigation of bribery and corruption surrounding the college basketball world right now. Guys, it's kind of crazy. It's really hard to digest. Just a couple of details to sort out before we get into some of these questions here. 10 people charged, coaches, etc., and arrested, including USC assistant coach Tony Bland. Earlier this week, I was on Tuesday in Tampa, Florida. A lot of powerhouse programs affected by this, not just USC. We had Miami, we had, of course, SC, Auburn, lots of others, and also Louisville. We'll get into Rick Pitino in just a second. But let's stay local for the time being. This scandal in USC, how much of a distraction, Luisi, do you think this is going to be this season for the players, the coaching staff, and the entire athletic department here?
It's going to be a lot. I mean, right now you see USC football is doing phenomenal right now, so we're taking more off the pressure from the audience, but it's more on the coaches and the players to be wondering what's going on. And we don't really know the full details yet. We know Nike's involved. Like, there's just so much just being hidden under wraps, and you have to wonder what the players are thinking. Should I stay here? Should I transfer to a different program? Am I going to be okay? Like, you just have to wonder with all the uncertainty, what are they really thinking about?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to know the full extent until the investigation's over for USC specifically, but it absolutely is a distraction. And I think the sanctions could be serious. I mean, we've seen a lot of NCAA scandals come out. I think this is the first one involving the FBI and criminal charges. So This is really serious. USC's basketball program is absolutely up in the air right now.
I have to say it's bad timing too, because they're really legitimizing themselves in like the past year. They're looking like
program was on the come up
we're gonna
for
be
sure.
Football and basketball, we're gonna be dominant, and all of a sudden you have this going on. This could be SMU, like the football team,
100%.
like death penalty.
100%.
This could be awful. We have no idea.
We have no idea.
don't know the
And
scope
it's
yet,
very early on in this process of hearing about what's been reported, things like that. Many of the violations have been stemming from recruiting, which is always a crazy situation to begin with. So Trevor, one of the guys right in the middle of this, Rick Pitino, Louisville's already had a couple kids decommit. What do you think is the future for Louisville? We know right now that Pitino has been placed on administrative leave, basically fired, on the exit ramp. How long do you think it's going to take for the Cards, regardless of what their sentence might be at the end of the day, to get back to the top of college basketball?
It's going to take a while. I mean, obviously Rick Pitino, for all of his faults, he's pretty shady. He's had a lot of he's had a lot of scandals at this point. That's the reason why they fired him almost immediately. But for all of his shadiness, he still is an incredible coach. He took them to a national championship just a couple years ago, 2013, I believe. And this is going to be tough to come back from, regardless of the sanctions. I think the program could be down for maybe a decade or so. I know Coach Cal's got to be happy about this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Pitino, too, you obviously mentioned him as talent, bringing them to the championship. You look at someone like Bill Belichick, obviously the rules between college and football and professional are different with him, with Spygate and all the other issues, but you have to wonder whether or not he'll rebound for another job or his reputation is just too destroyed. You just don't know yet.
I don't think he's gonna be able to get another job. I mean, he's burned bridges in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's not gonna get another NBA job, especially with what happened with the Celtics just a few years ago. And I don't think he's gonna get another job in college. I don't think athletic directors and school administrations can trust this guy at this point. It's just too much stuff has happened under his watch for him to get another job.
No question about it. It is a crazy situation all the way around, as was week 3 of the NFL season. Oh my. A lot of emotions, a lot of peaceful protests, players taking a knee, players locking arms, some teams staying in the tunnels. What do we make of all this, what we saw this past weekend?
Well, first thing we look at the Steelers, looking at their one player who stood out for the anthem and didn't unintentionally try and protest the whole kneeling thing, but was more, hey, I'm an part of the military, and that I want to go and represent those who are overseas. But at the same time, he said publicly, like, hey, I support Black Lives Matter and all of this that's going on. At the same time, like, I still support my boys who are overseas. At the same time, you have to look at the owners who are standing up and like aren't interlocking arms with their players to wonder whether or not, hey, do they actually care about the players? This is all for ratings and like trying to get more revenue, because it's the NFL. It's a great business, but they're a shady one at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think these protests started in earnest with Colin Kaepernick. I think he had a purpose behind them, and now, who knows where the message is going? I don't think anyone knows. The NFL might turn this into one of its marketing weeks, but we don't really know where it's going, and I think, it's gotten to the point where, I mean, I support it. I personally do support it. I think athletes should be allowed to be political. Why not? They're influential people with a lot of money. They have wide-reaching audiences. But I just hope the message is clear as it's going on.
I think fans forget that athletes are people too. They go out and vote. They have their own rights. They have their own families. Like, after football, they're people once again. They're not like, maybe like 10 of them will be like infamous for their amazing plays, but at the same time, like, they go and live regular lives after that, and they want to have the same rights as anyone else.
I just hope the message is clear as it's going on.
I do too. And I will never know what it's like to be one of them or have that issue, but at the same time, you want to support them.
And that player that you were mentioning on the Steelers, Alejandro Villanueva, who did serve, put in an interesting situation. He apologized to the coaches, Coach Tomlin, all those guys. Well, it started with a snowball of a comment from President Donald Trump at an Alabama Senate rally, and as we saw, it turned into an avalanche. And this weekend, week 4, we'll see what comes of it as well. On now to USC football. Yes, the topics are getting lighter. USC taking on Wazoo up in Pullman in just a couple hours' time. A lot here, guys. I think early in the season, we thought this was a trap game. You kind of circle it on your calendar, say, oh, that game might be tough. Now, it's the number 16 team in the country, at home. It's not going to be raining, but still at home, really good team. Let's go with the obvious question here. The games within the game, not everything's been clicking for USC. Where on the field is this game going to be won and lost?
I mean, it's the matchup to look for has got to be Luke Falk and that explosive Washington State offense under Mike Leach versus a very excellent secondary for USC. Jack Jones, Amon Marshall, Chris Hawkins are playing out of their minds right now. Jack Jones, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week last week for his 2-interception performance against Cal. This is the matchup to look for. How will Luke Falk, Washington State's all-time leader in virtually every passing category, how is he going to fare against a secondary that's peaking at the right time?
I'm with you on that. And looking back to the 2-interception game at Berkeley, they're going to have to play to that level, but like how they played against Texas. You have to be good on third down. Otherwise, they're going to tear you up, and they're going to march on the field and put up 7. It's going to be too easy. And looking back at Rojo being back, he's going to have to be there, set the ground game early so you get time for Sam Darnold to do play action, and so he's not always forcing throws out there. You see Sam's at his best when he's improvising, but not when he's being forced to throw like 3rd and 20 because it's a system that Clay Helton has put him in.
Sam Darnold and Luke Falk, both flamethrowers. Trevor, real quick, what do you want to see from Darnold tonight?
I mean, I've got to see more consistency. I've obviously got to see less interceptions, but more so, I want to see explosive plays that we've come to know from him, or that he's come to be known for.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Against Cal, his longest pass was 19 yards. It's the first time in 14 starts that he hasn't thrown a 20-yard pass. So I want to see explosive play from him.
Sam Darnold going against the savvy vet in Luke Falk, a fifth-year senior. That game will be at 7:30 at Martin Stadium up in the Pacific Northwest. But Keith DeMolder now joins me at the monitor, and that is not the only college football action going on this weekend. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and we are, yes, filling in those blanks. So, Keith, get the note cards ready. Here we go. Big game in prime time tomorrow night as Clemson goes to Virginia Tech. Clemson's chances, Virginia Tech's chances really up in the air. Virginia Tech, a lot better than maybe we thought they were going to be. So we'll word the question this way. The Hokies' chances of beating the Tigers are blank.
Yeah, so they're probable, but not likely to happen. Right here I have plausible, ... not probable. JJ,
Okay.
no way.
Long answer.
So what I see from Virginia Tech, they have a lot of weapons on their offense. They don't have a singular guy. I mean, Josh Jackson, he can sling the ball, he can also run the ball, but he needs more consistency throwing if he's going to try and get past Clemson. We know Clemson's going to bring the heat on the D-line.
Sure.
So that said, they need a guy who's going to go out and pound the football. That said, Clemson offensively, they struggled a little bit earlier in the season against Auburn. We saw the time of possession in favor of Auburn, and they almost won that game, 14-6. So that one, I think it was kind of an indicator of if you are able to run the ball effectively, if you're able to keep the ball for the majority of the game, you have a chance to beat Clemson. And I think Virginia Tech, they could do it. I mean, they're at home. I don't know. It's all about execution, really.
Under the lights, and Clemson has won the last 4 in the series. All right, let's move on now, because that would be a minor upset. Let's say major upset. Biggest upset of the weekend in college football is blank.
Texas Tech over
Ooh,
Oklahoma State.
okay.
Hashtag run Rudolph. Hashtag no justice, no wins. So this one, a little bit of a hot take, but Texas Tech, they're at home. That's the key, because we saw at home against TCU a loss for Oklahoma State, and Rudolph, he had a couple picks, didn't really have the best of games. That said, I think Texas Tech, they have the air raid offense. They're going to throw the ball multiple times this game. I think, I mean, looking at the receivers, they have some quality receivers for sure.
No
so
question.
it's going to be a gunslinging action all night long. It will be, up to see if Oklahoma State can stop that passing attack. We haven't seen a passing attack from them that's been this powerful in years. Now that, ever since the Brandon Weeden era, now they have one with Rudolph. I don't know. It should be close. I think Texas Tech, they get the slight win just because they're at home.
I got to say, I didn't think we'd be hearing the name Brandon Weeden on this water cooler episode. They like to throw the ball in the Big 12. But is that the most entertaining conference in the country? Keith DeMolder, the most entertaining conference in college football is blank?
The Big Ten, folks.
Ooh,
Midwest,
okay.
mid-best. And it may be a hot take. It may be a hot take, but here's what I'll say. 4 of the top 11 teams in the country come from the Big Ten.
Sure.
You have Penn State, OSU, Michigan, Wisconsin is a dark horse as well. You look at the overall breadth of talent in the Big Ten, it's better than any other conference. The SEC, they have the Kentuckys, the South Carolinas. They're not really good as of late. But you look at the Big Ten, every single team except for maybe Rutgers, they have a chance to really put some wins on the board.
Scarlet Knights, I'm with you. I'm with you. Going to get there eventually. It's a really tough conference, though, no question about it. And they have one of the best players in the country in that conference at Penn State, Saquon Barkley, dynamic running back, and right now, clearly, Keith, the Heisman frontrunner. My question to you, though, because fill in the blank, we make it difficult.
That is true.
We make it difficult. His biggest competition for the Heisman is blank.
I'm sorry, SC fans, I have to do this.
Oh.
Bryce Love, hashtag
Wow.
I love Stanford.
Bryce Love.
Bryce Love, yes. Now, some people, they may say Baker Mayfield, and I agree with you, but here's what I'll say. Bryce Love this season, unbelievable statistics. Leads the nation in rushing right now. 10.8 yards per carry. Can you believe that? He gets a first down every single time he touches the ball, statistically at least. That said, they give him more carries. I see him going for over maybe 2,000 yards this year. Underutilized, underappreciated, really. Saquon Barkley, I will say, he's more of a dual threat back. We saw him. He had some huge catches against Iowa. Basically won the game for them.
Sure.
Dual threat for sure. I think he's the Heisman front runner. But if you're talking about dark horses, Baker Mayfield, but Bryce Love, he's my guy.
Real quick, any chance that Barkley doesn't win?
I don't think so. He's
don't
just
think
too
so?
talented.
Too talented.
Too talented. And too much of a part of this offense, really. Through the air, on the ground, he can do everything.
He can do everything, as can the USC offense. Really exciting game. We don't have time to talk about that right now, but we did have time to talk about Saquon Barkley. As he alluded to, 305 scrimmage yards against the Hawkeyes of Iowa on
Crazy.
the road in the rain last week.
Crazy.
One of the performances of the year. USC maybe needs a performance like that tonight at Martin Stadium to take down the Cougs. We shall see. More from Keith and hockey talk. What? After the break, keep it locked on 8.1. Eight point one, 8.1. Hey, Los Angeles, what do you say? Water coolers on 8.1. Let 'em talk, let 'em hate. Watch the Lincoln navigate. If they touch
Josh.
'em, wipe 'em.
Josh, we're live.
I don't believe you. They touch 'em, wipe 'em off. Fingerprints, they take 'em off. Water cooler. Who is the frattiest QB?
I mean, it's obviously Matt Stafford. Have you ever seen anyone play in the NFL with a beer gut? The answer is obvious.
It's Peyton Manning.
How is it Peyton Manning?
It's Peyton Manning because
First of all,
Peyton
he's
Manning looks like
already-
a
he's
40-year-old dude
retired.
that comes back
He
to your
looks like the
tailgates
dip
and
goober
hands
you
all the
cut on the
18-year-old
second day.
girls a
It
beer.
cannot
No,
be
he's
Peyton
hanging
Manning.
out like he's there
Absolutely
all
not.
the time for
First
no
of
reason,
all-
not even on
First
alumni
of all, he
weekend.
doesn't have the
Peyton Manning,
appreciation for good alcohol.
Peyton
You cannot
Manning's
be the first
balding.
guy
How
without
many frat
appreciating
guys
good
that you know
alcohol.
that
It's
aren't
just not a
balding?
possibility.
Save some talk for the show. The Water Cooler, Fridays at 2:30, right here on Trojan Vision.
And welcome back to the Water Cooler. I'm Keith DeMolder here with a fun little game we like to call the roster mashup. And so we have a fake world in which all the NFL rosters have been erased, totally erased. But what we do know is where every NFL player has gone to college, and therefore that's how we're going to sort out this roster. So here's how the game works. We have a power ranking system based on these new rosters. So wherever this certain NFL player went to school, they then are placed on the NFL team closest to where their college was. So for instance, Jarvis Landry, he came from LSU. He would then play for the New Orleans Saints, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get into the top 5 power rankings for this roster mashup. The number 1 team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. Tom Brady, starting quarterback, Hall of Famer, greatest of all time. Behind him, Le'Veon Bell, certainly will be a Hall of Famer soon. Antonio Brown on the left side as well. Look at this offensive line. Jack Conklin, Taylor Lewan, Joe Staley, unbelievable talent as well. Jabril Peppers in the secondary. Detroit's got a lot of talent. They got my vote for number 1 team in the NFL. Coming in at number 2, the Houston Texans. They have a lot of talent considering all of their products coming from the University of Texas, Texas A&M, Texas State, Rice, and the University of Houston. So along with Donta Foreman, both Malcolm Browns, Jamal Charles, Phil Dawson, they also have a lot of key players in the secondary, that being Kenny Vaccaro, both Martellus and Michael Bennett. And who can get past this defensive line? On the left side, Myles Garrett. On the right side, Von Miller. Nobody will get past that defensive line. Houston's number 2. At number 3, from the Big Easy, the Saints coming in. The New Orleans Saints are the number 3 team in the rankings. They may not have a starting quarterback. Of course, they have to choose between Jeff Driscoll and Zach Mettenberger. So not a lot of talent, per se, behind quarterback. But that said, their skill players, some of the best. Leonard Fournette, Jarvis Landry, Jeremy Hill, Brandon LaFell, Rob Kelly, and then on the defensive end, Robert Alford and Tyrann Mathieu. And oh, I think I forgot somebody. Yeah, that's one of the best receivers in the NFL right now, that being Odell Beckham Jr. All of them on the Saints. So I got to give Saints the nod. Number 3. At the number 4 spot, this is where things got a little bit dicey, but I'm going to have to give it to the number 4, the breadbasket, the Kansas City Chiefs. Mainly for these 2 players out of the University of Kansas, Chris Harris and Aqib Talib. They shut down opponents every single week. Tyler Lockett as well on offense, but you can't forget these names, folks. Jordy Nelson, Darren Sproles, Dez Bryant. On the offensive line, Russell Okung, and throwing them the passes, Sam Bradford as well. DeMarco Murray, Adrian Peterson, and Kenny Stills. I could go on forever. Those names just light up the scoreboard every single week. And when you want a defensive stop, Gerald McCoy on the defensive line. He is a beast. So number 4, gotta give it to the Chiefs. And the 5th and final team in our power rankings, this one was a toss-up, folks. It was hard to choose between the Steelers as well as the Green Bay Packers, but I'm going to have to go with the Pack on this one. Looking at the Steelers, they do have a lot of talent. I will say they have Sean Lee, LaShawn McCoy, 2 Seans on that team. Aaron Donald, defensive tackle of the year 2 years ago. Brent Grimes, Navarro Bowman, Adam Pac-Man Jones, Pat McAfee, one of the strongest punters in the game, Tavon Austin, and Geno Smith. So their offense may not be as loaded as people would like, but their defense certainly loaded. They get a 6th spot for me, but at 5 in our top 5 rankings, the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson, he's an improved quarterback. He is a leader, but more so I like the Packers at number 5 because of the Watt brothers, JJ and TJ. But JJ, he is an unrelenting force, folks, on the defensive side of the ball. Player of the year. Melvin Gordon also coming in. Travis Frederick on the offensive line. Unbelievable talent as well. Zach Miller and Ndamukong Suh coming over. They're out-of-staters, but they were in the vicinity. And Richie Incognito, Randy Gregory, and Quincy Enunwa to round it out. And so I think this team, the Packers, they're well-rounded, and they get the number 5 spot. And with that, we're going to bring it to a wrap of the top 5. This has been the roster mashup presented to you by the Water Cooler. Now back to the show.
And we're back on the cooler, and the first time in it feels like years, we have hockey.
It's
Hockey
amazing.
Predictions, like October, 2 days away.
It's like Christmas came
Hockey
early.
starts, but for whatever reason, John swallowed his pride and we're showing hockey. Going
Yeah.
off that, we've got predictions, starting with the Metro. Who do you have?
The Metro, well, you know, the Metro is definitely, I would say, the toughest division in the NHL at the moment. The reigning NHL champion Pittsburgh Penguins hail from there. I think they're going to be taking it again this year, even though they didn't quite make it last year. They let the Washington Capitals win that one. This year, I think the Penguins are retooled. They're ready for that three-peat. They're coming for it.
Yeah,
What do you
and
think? I know you're a Rangers fan.
I am.
What are your
They
opinions
just got
on this?
Shattenkirk from Washington, which was huge in their huge run. But at the same
Absolutely.
time, they're missing a center. And Pittsburgh, back-to-back championships,
Mm-hmm.
two of the best centers in the league. It's going to be hard for them to overtake them, maybe in the playoffs, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving to Pittsburgh, like, they could three-peat right now. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a totally. I really have no idea what to expect out of this division. It's going to be some really exciting hockey going on
What
there.
about the Atlantic? I know
All right.
you're a big Canadians
Well, you
fan.
know, you
and it's a
can-
weak division. They may have been awful last year, but
You know, you can call me a homer if you want, but really, when I'm looking at the Atlantic right now, I don't see any team that's going to take the crown from Montreal. You know, Ottawa's got issues with Erik Karlsson's foot surgery that's gone bad. Toronto's got such a lack of depth at the defensive positions. And Tampa Bay, who knows what they're going to do? They have so many troubles staying healthy, really. So I think Montreal, they've retooled a little bit. I think they're going to be a little bit better on offense with the acquisition of Jonathan Drouin from Tampa, definitely.
Drouin should
So
be
my
good.
pick is going to be Montreal.
we'll see what happens with obviously Mitch Marner and Matthews leading the Leafs offense.
Right.
No defense.
It's going to be an exciting offense.
Switching over more to the West, and we'll go to the Central. I'm a big Preds guy. I believe
Yeah,
they are still
absolutely.
the team to beat. They should have won the Cup last year,
They
except for a
should've.
iffy call by the refs, which everyone was pretty pissed about. And they still have, it's not the best defense in the NHL. They're getting Johansson back. They should be lighting up the league, even though they lost James Neal.
Absolutely. The Predators definitely have some of the best defensive players in the league. But I'm going to go and look at offense here. The Dallas Stars had an incredible offseason. They got the top defenseman in the draft, and they managed to sign Alex Radulov from Montreal. So their top line is now Jamie Benn, Alex Radulov, and Tyler Seguin. That is probably the best three players on any line, sharing a line in the NHL. Their offense is going to be
They are
lights
gonna
out this year. It's going to be
dangle
incredible.
Everyone. It's not even
Yeah.
gonna be fair.
It's
Like,
going to
they're
be
just
amazing.
Doodle to be game over.
I'm
And
really
finally,
looking forward to seeing these
last
Stars.
division. Most people would say Kings out here, but I'm gonna go with the Ducks.
I'm gonna
They
agree with
look
you on
really
that.
good. They're deep, and if Getzlaf can get his stuff together and Perry can play at that fiery aspect he has,
Yeah.
they're the team to beat in the West, in my opinion.
It really comes down to the depth and the veteran experience. That was the edge they had over the Oilers when they met in that electric playoff series last year. I think it's definitely going to be the Ducks again.
Not the Oilers, even though McDavid has been something.
You know,
else.
McDavid's great and all, but they just don't have the depth to compete behind McDavid and Draisaitl.
right.
Really, they're a good team, but they're not a great team yet.
We'll
All
see
right,
what
guys.
happens wrapping up preseason, and we'll see what happens. Maybe
Yeah.
the Rangers would actually pull something off.
Yeah, let's see.
Hey, that's some good hockey talk in week one. It is it's a new season of the Cooler, clearly, because we're talking hockey in week one. And we also are mentioning Brandon Whedon, Jeff Driscoll getting on the broadcast.
It's a wild
Spreading
day.
the love.
It's a weird afternoon, man.
It's a weird afternoon, and it might get weird in Pullman for
Yeah.
that game. That's going to be so exciting.
for sure.
But we're sticking with hockey. More hockey and more hockey. So, Oliver, I'll start with you, because new hockey season means players on new teams, all the faces in new places stuff, but it also means some of the same good soundtracks that we get after goals.
Absolutely.
Oliver, what's your favorite goal song in
Oh,
the
mine
NHL?
definitely has to be Minnesota Wild used "Let's Go Crazy" by Prince.
Okay.
Great way to honor the legendary musician who unfortunately passed away last year. But, you know, it's great. He's a Minnesota legend. It's a great way to honor him. And really, there's nothing else to say. It's got that classic rock feel that not a lot of goal horns these days have. So I really like it. It's something special.
Got that nice hum in the background
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. We're listening to it. All right, Luisi.
So normally I would pick my homer pick and pick the Rangers, but the Blackhawks, man, their song is something else. You can see it in the league. You see it in Budweiser commercials. Like, it doesn't get any more classic than this. Of hey, we just scored a big goal. We're
Yeah.
awesome. Like, probably had a beer or two. Like,
Yeah, there is
just
no
a
song-
Good time with this goal song.
There is no song that's better at annoying other fans of other teams than Chelsea Dagger, for sure.
There it is.
I like that. I like that.
Yep.
Affected by the happiness of the song. Like,
I don't know. Oliver's annoyed by it. I don't know.
I love it. I
I
love
think it's
it.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Great
Is
pick.
it as good as the Flyers that Luisi? Let's just take a listen to this one. I might start dancing. I think the Philadelphia Flyers have a good one.
Pretty high.
Got
Pretty
some
high.
moves. I love it.
kid like on the glass.
Oh yeah, I could.
I did.
I could.
Everything.
I actually don't know what I just saw. So.
You don't know hockey, so everything.
I don't know anything about hockey. Do I get to say my favorite in a minute?
You do. You
I went to a
Flyers game. It was electric, and I was doing
it's
that
something
at the
else.
very top row of the whole stadium at the Wells Fargo. Yeah. What you
Well,
got?
I don't
Trevor?
know a single thing about hockey. I have no idea what's going on for like the last 5 minutes. But I do love my Atlanta Thrashers. R.I.P. Rest in peace to the Atlanta Thrashers. Some good times. Song 2 by Blur. It's a classic. I mean, come on, roll it. It's a classic song. It's a classic song.
That's the one that goes like woohoo.
Yeah, it's the one that goes woohoo. Go Thrashers. Okay. All right. We're not going to talk about the Thrashers leaving, but you're an ATL guy too. You got to be upset about that as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. So I just go to Flyers games and get rowdy. Yes, and we are bringing a megaphone next week, so stay
get
tuned for
ready.
that. More goal songs. The next batch. We're now going to move on, and it's just about that time. We've got final memos plus real quick. Fantasy football is still going on, so make sure to always track our league. We've got really exciting stuff there. I'm not doing great. Luisi's crushing everyone.
I'm doing even worse than you are.
Trevor and I are struggling, as always. Final memos here, and well, we mentioned that we have hockey in the show. This is an all hockey show. It's going to be renamed from the water cooler to, I don't know, the ice rink, the pond, something
like
like
it.
that in the near future. And our very own from last year, Jess Green, trying out for the Kings.
This is so cool. I'm so proud of her. She's killing it. She's killing it. She tried out over the weekend as the emergency goalie for the Los Angeles Kings NHL team. This is crazy.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see.
In honor of her, I gotta show the Tony Romo.
the Tony Romo, yeah.
Yep, she made this, and it fell from the Velcro wall, but
Yeah.
still love Jess.
Huge shouts to Jess. Great member of the cooler and great netminder as well.
Yes.
So she's out there. And also, shouts to whatever this is. I would hold it up at some point in the show. That was the time I did it. Finally, Justin Timberlake. He's back. Super Bowl 52, Luisi. What are we
Second
feeling?
chances.
You know what he's bringing back?
What's he bringing back?
Oh, come on. You know what
He's
he's
bringing
back.
sexy back.
He's bringing
I
sexy
know
bringing
it.
back.
Why don't you
sexy
say
back.
it?
God.
The megaphone next
The
week.
megaphone.
Megaphone.
Megaphone next week.
Justin Timberlake next week, too.
Justin
We're getting
Timberlake
the
next
whole
week.
9 yards.
The final question, because we had our final memos, and Jess, that's very exciting, and JT, very exciting. The last question for you guys, very serious, is what is this?
I don't know, man.
It's your alter ego.
It's my alter ego.
It's your alter ego.
It's my alter ego.
It just kind of showed up out of nowhere.
It showed up out of nowhere. Moral support, though, for my fantasy team. I got a win this past weekend.
Big getaway. Big win.
Luis, you don't know what losing feels like, clearly.
Are you 3-0?
He's got the belt.
You tell me. Like, only winners get belts that are, like, Velcroed onto scarves, but I got the belt. I keep winning. Like, I've got 1, 2, 3 wins on my fantasy team, so.
If I'm last in the standings, does that mean I get the number 1 pick next year?
I think so. I think that's how it works.
So I'm tanking for a reason.
yeah,
Right?
and you
Didn't
did.
you have it this
Okay.
year?
Yeah, but he picked David.
Yeah,
I had David
Luisi.
Johnson. Come on.
Maybe you
can't.
shouldn't be picking first.
Jeez.
Like, come on. Maybe you want to pick later.
Whatever, man. We're coming back. We're the
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns. We're going to make a resurgence.
Do you know who you play this week?
I actually do not.
You don't see. That's the spirit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't know. who you're
I've
gonna
already
play before you play
blocked
him.
fantasy football out of my mind. It's bad.
So,
That's
wait,
a good
what
call.
do you want for David Johnson, though? I mean, you don't need him on your bench. He's going to come back by playoffs. And you're
I
not
hear
going-
this all
This
week.
has to end.
All week.
This has to
All
end.
week. Have
You're
you?
not
This
going
has
to
to
playoffs, so, like, what do you want for him?
Do you get the email alerts when someone proposes a bananas trade?
I'm sorry.
I do.
you
You
not
do.
have- wait,
Have you seen some?
Wait,
I mean,
who's your tight end? Who's
okay.
your tight end?
All right. We're gonna have to cut
R.I.P.
the
to
fantasy
Thrashers.
talk short because this is getting dangerous. We're gonna have to go off air for this, making big time trades and talking sports all the time. 2:30 every Friday. Water cooler. Enjoy the game tonight.